My friends, this is one of the greatest days in history for Guild Wars 2 instanced content enjoyers. My friends, today we stand united on the greatest potential update of all time. Combining raids and strike missions in 2026. Is 2026 the year of Guild Wars 2? Well, for raiders, it just might be. Let's go ahead and read the post. Hey folks, this is Brian Yarrow, Combat Systems Lead on Guild Wars 2, and I'm here to talk to you about something really exciting that's coming with the first major update to Guild Wars 2 Visions of Eternity early next year. As we announced in July, we're merging strike mission and raid game modes into a single game mode, which will just be called raids. We'll be releasing another blog on this topic in the coming months with more granular details, but today I want to focus on why we're doing this and how we got here. That is huge! Why merge strike and raids? Well, before even reading this, I think one of the big reasons is going to be because it's extremely confusing for players to understand that there are two separate pieces of instance content that are pretty much the same, except one, you just fight multiple strike bosses in a sense in a row in an instance. It's just really confusing. And then strike missions were also intended to be sort of this stepping stone toward raids, but they don't actually do that. So that's going to be my guess at what they talk about. Let's see. Strike missions were originally designed to help players transition from open world content into raid content. Haha, I was right. They were intended to be quicker to complete than a full raid wing and have slightly less complicated mechanics as well. And that did not happen, by the way. Some of the strike missions, particularly the CMs, are far more difficult than raid encounters. And I would even go ahead and say that some of the normal mode strike missions are harder than normal mode raid bosses. Some of them for sure. When we dug into the details of why this was happening, we found a number of reasons that we believed were all contributing factors. And we've been attempting to address these over our past few expansions. Oh, thanks for the 100 bits. When we looked at who was playing strike missions and why, we discovered that inexperienced players had low engagement with strike missions, no doubt. Furthermore, players who wanted to raid still felt blocked due to difficulty concerns and challenges in finding a group to run them with. It turns out one of the most difficult things about raiding is actually finding a group. It's finding a group. It's so difficult. Strike missions simply weren't being viewed as the stepping stone to raids that we had originally intended. Since then, we've tried to reframe and clarify how difficulty levels work in our group instance content across both strike mission and raid game modes. Normal mode should be able to be completed by anyone interested in learning the content, while challenge mode is aimed toward our hardcore audience. We also have some plans, which we'll tease below, that will further clarify the intended difficulty level of raids for players. This is going to be one of the most difficult things for them to do. The reality is that normal mode being completed by anyone interested in learning the content. Okay, what does that mean? I really want to know what they mean by that, because it should be, I think it should have an asterisk. It should be completed by anyone interested in learning the content and understanding the systems around said content. If you just are able to do the mechanics, you typically might be able to get through, but that's not the reality. That's just simply not the reality. Most teams go in, and if they don't have a gear and a build, they're like locked out. Like, it's going to be way harder for them to complete the content. It's still doable, but in my opinion, this might be slightly misleading depending on what they're going to do. Okay, raids, encounters, and wings. As we made plans to improve strike mission engagement, we came to realize that strikes and raids didn't need to be separate game modes at all. Haha! They were both squad-based instance content with similar levels of complexity. This is true. Raid wings were just longer and tended to have a bit more complexity per encounter than strike missions did. That's probably mostly true, but it's really interesting because the CMs on strike missions are far harder than the CMs in raids, mostly. We were also paying some hidden costs by separating them, such as each mode having its own separate reward system. This is totally true. It's very confusing. That didn't incentivize cross-engagement. Not to mention it was confusing for new players. Yes, bingo! Ding, 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 ding! It is super confusing for new players, especially when you have these separate reward systems. Strike missions will be known as raid encounters going forward and will be siblings with the current raid wings within the larger raids game mode. This should make it easier for new players to understand approach. Oh my gosh, people. I have been saying this for years. I have been literally begging them to rebrand this, because having all these different game modes is extremely confusing for players. It is super, super, super confusing. Holy, this is the most based potential update of all time. Yeah, it's definitely a better late than never situation, APOC. It definitely is. My goodness, this is here. I'm bringing the chat back. The chat needs to be in this video. I don't know why the chat isn't in the video. Maybe it's just not going to be in the video. The chat box is not working. I broke the chat box. Holy. Okay, whatever. Rating in 2026. Combining these game modes offers us the opportunity to do much more than making things simpler to understand. In our first major update to Guild Wars Visions of Eternity, we'll also be adding the following to raids. Oh my gosh. A new raid UI with quality of life improvements, screenshot below, by the way. A list of all raid wings and raid encounters will allow you to go directly to the boss you want to tackle. Wait, no more instance openers. This is big. The list includes encounter difficulty ratings to inform players. This one will be interesting because difficulty is very subjective. Like, what I think is easy will probably be like maybe medium for someone else. I think there's a little bit of subjectivity to here, but I think in general it's good to give players an idea that Doom is definitely harder than Veil Guardian. You know what I mean? The more like granular specifics of this are probably going to need to be teased a little bit and like figured out. But and do you do it like easy, medium, hard, or do you do it like a 1 to 5 or a 1 to 10? Like how do you do that? How specific, how granular do you actually get when informing players? That's a little bit challenging. Shout out to Darkbringer, by the way. Based. Quick play mode to assist players in finding a group easier for raid encounters. Okay, so if they do quick play, then quick play is essentially the easy mode. Because if it's anything like fractals, then it'll make normal mode and take it down a notch and put less pressure on players. So this is very good. The challenge with quick play right now, in my opinion, is that it doesn't necessarily teach players good habits, or it doesn't necessarily teach players the systems around the game, but perhaps people can kind of ease into that through just being able to talk to each other. But again, the challenge then is quick play doesn't necessarily facilitate conversation. It's so easy that you don't really need to work together in any way. I don't know if that matters. I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm saying that it's going to be quite challenging to get people to transition from quick play to even normal mode right now. So I'm curious what other systems will incentivize that. The big thing is going to be rewards. You need to have a huge reward shift for raids. Otherwise, all of this is a bit moot. A merge reward system for strikes and raid wings. Okay, merge system is good, but I would really like to know what that's going to mean. New Guild Wars 2 Visions of Eternity raid encounter with a challenge mode, a second raid encounter, a challenge mode, and a legend mode will be in subsequent updates. Okay, so they're putting some new encounters. Not going to do a full raid wing. Going to focus on raid encounters. That's probably easier for them to do. That's totally fine. Okay. These features will allow us to better communicate difficulty levels of raids and address the significant quality of life issues that depress engagement. And, as many of you have correctly surmised, the quick play mode featured that we debuted in beta form for the Fractal Incursion bonus event will indeed be added to raids next year to help players find groups for the easiest raid encounters. We're very excited to see how the community engage with our merged raid game mode, and we'll share more details on how this will all work in coming months. Happy gaming! Woo! Brian, thank you, Brian. Okay, huge opinions on this. Obviously, there's a lot here. Let's take a look at this screenshot. Okay, what do we got? You can see it looks like it shows the number of bosses in a raid wing. It shows the base difficulty. It looks like it's a 1 to 5 right now. That's interesting. Oh, look, these little check marks. Ah, what is this? Mithrite Gambit. It looks like it's going boss, like pre-event thing, boss. I'm not sure. This little icon here must mean challenge mode, if I had to guess. It must. So there's like a little, like if you zoom in, you can barely see it, but it's right next to the upper right-hand side of the little boss symbol. That, to me, looks like it's the challenge mode. So it shows bosses and events. It looks like there's a button here with a little icon that would suggest information. So that's raid encounter details. I'm curious if this links to the wiki or something, because if this were to link to the wiki, that would be the most based thing ever, because then it immediately gives people a guide on what to do. This is very, very, very good. Obviously, it's work in progress. This is clean. I like how this looks a lot. I like how it's showing everything that's here, and you can just get in there. I'm wondering if quick play will be merged into this UI, or if quick play will just be in the LFG like fractals are. I'm sure there's some level of complexity with the spaghetti code or whatever, but it would be cool if that were the case. Anyway, this, my friends, this is the time of the Raider. The dawn of the Raider has come. It is time for us to rise up, show your support. This is going to be one of the greatest updates of all time. I am super excited about this. Shout out to the awesome devs who are working on this, wink, wink. And you know what? People, that's the end of the YouTube video. Shout out to the YouTube comments. Leave a comment below and let us know what you think about this update. Is this going to cause you to raid more? Maybe it doesn't change anything for you. Let us know. And we'll catch you next time, okay? Here's a little boop for the road. Boop. See you later.